We did a full hour today, Danny, on the following question. It wasn't
a question. It wasn't a question. It was a statement.
Okay. You give your statement.
The statement's very simple, Danny. Caleb Williams is the best quarterback the Bears have ever had. Point blank, period. Sid Luckman, of course, is the most accomplished quarterback that the Bears have ever had. But much like the T offense, the Model T gone out of style, those things are old and decrepit. And we're talking about the current NFL. And certainly, in my opinion, Caleb Williams has shown himself to be the best player to play the position.
And I brought up, Danny, just to bring it full circle and the Boomer reference, I said, of course, I'm not necessarily saying Marshall is wrong, but you have to bring up guys like Jim McMahon. You have to bring up guys like Jake Cutler just to do a little cross-checking and a little bit of debating. But where do you stand on Marshall's definitive statement?
I mean, he's obviously objectively correct.
I predicted that. That's the only prediction I've gotten right this year, that Danny would agree with Marshall.
Well, hold on. Listen, when people have these conversations, and they're great, sports radio, barbershop, whatever, I do think it is relatively instructive to talk about what we're talking about here. Tom Brady is considered the greatest quarterback of all time. People don't really dispute that. I don't find that conversation to be quite as interesting because it is just a measurement of accomplishments. It's just I'm looking at your trophy case. Now, if you were saying who is the most talented quarterback of all time, I find that a little bit more interesting because it brings in skill set and some nuance. So the Jim McMahon, yeah, he has a Super Bowl and Caleb Williams doesn't. So is that the only art? Because he obviously is not more talented than Caleb Williams. And we can't put Sid Luckman into perspective because none of us were alive to know anyone who was alive to watch the guy play. Basically.
Right, exactly.
Obviously that's hyperbolic. But you understand what I'm saying. Modern era football as we understand it, Caleb Williams is clearly the most talented player the Bears have ever had to play the position. And how about this? Just touchdown to interception ratio to start a career. First 34 games of a career. First basically 2 seasons of playing since 1970. Lamar Jackson, 47 touchdowns against 9 picks. Patrick Mahomes, now he sat out most of his first year, but first 34 games, so basically year 2 and 3 of Mahomes, pretty good. 85 touchdowns against 18 interceptions. And Caleb Williams, 47 touchdowns against 13 interceptions. He's behind Lamar and Mahomes for best touchdown to interception ratio first 34 games of his career. He is, without a doubt, objectively the most talented quarterback in the history of the Bears organization. And if you guys need to be he needs to win, he has to pass Eric Kramer with wins, fine. But I'm just not terribly interested in that.
No, I completely agree. And that's the point that I was laying out, because when Grote went hard to do his cross-checking, if you will,
that's all I'm doing.
He found 2 guys, and neither of those guys were very inspiring to me in terms of, I watched the tape. If you have eyes, it's believe what your lying eyes tell you, or nah, you listen to what somebody says about a guy who, as you said, has a trophy in his case. It's pretty simple and cut and dry to me. I think this is more about working through not only Mark Grote, but the city of Chicago's PTSD and the low bar of what quarterback play has been for the Chicago Bears in recent memory.
Yeah, but listen, I'm not doing radio on the score every day. I like to think that I have a pretty decent pulse still of Bears fans. Are you getting pushback for this opinion, Marshall?
Minimal pushback. We had one caller. It was hilarious. He called in, and how did he start the call, Grote? Patrick called us.
Yeah, he came around.
He was like, I haven't. He's had interceptions in big games, and I was like, but look at the context of the interception. If you throw a pick on 4th down and it's just a punt, who cares? Also, he at the end of the call said, but tell me, who is the best quarterback in Bears history? He said, it's Caleb Williams. So, even the pushback has been minimal because I just want everyone to be comfortable saying it out loud, I feel like people know it.
I can't imagine why you wouldn't be. And it would be a really, weird, fatalistic, almost White Sox fan mentality to be to bitch and moan for our entire lives that we've never had a good quarterback in Chicago, then get a good quarterback in Chicago, say that he's the best quarterback we've ever had in Chicago, and then want to defend the guys that we used to bitch about. Hey, he might not actually be better than Cutler.
Well, then the disclaimer.
That'd be a weird pivot.
No, you're right. But the disclaimer part of this is incredibly important. Marshall's been very careful to point it out, to his credit, that the field ain't great. That
the bar is low. That's my point.
And so the problem is that it's still a big statement, though. It still is something that one has to digest and think about. And be like, maybe he is
for 2 minutes.
But it's also 2 years. Okay, I used the analogy earlier. Like Marshall meets a girl, he wants to move in with her in the second week. He's engaged to her in 6 months. I mean, are we moving too fast? Just having this topic.
Let me tell you something. If I meet the right girl, guess what?
Yeah,
the two things you just said will happen in short order.
Same. We're too old to be messing around, man.
What are you talking about? Like, if I meet a girl, Danny, who is smart, accomplished, hot, beautiful, and who doesn't live in a bubble and realizes the world is bigger than what she sees, I'm in. I'm good.
I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, I agree with that. You know, if you know, don't be afraid to dive into the deep end with your quarterbacks or with your living situation.
Right. And you can always get divorced. That's always there for you. It's a good thing these days.
Yeah, wow. Well, Louis C.K. says the best part about marriage is the divorce. He has an incredible bit. He's like, because my divorce just keeps getting better. Every day is better. Every day is better than the last. So yeah, that is a great Louis bit. But yeah, I can't imagine there's much pushback against that notion because we've been waiting a long time for this. And now, how good Caleb is to the rest of the NFL. Like the goal, guys, is to no longer ever have to mention the name Jay Cutler or Eric Kramer or Jim McMahon again.
And that's so true.
Be comparing Caleb Williams to Drake May, compare Caleb Williams to Aaron Rodgers, compare Caleb Williams to Patrick Mahomes. Like that's the goal. Like compare him to the greats of the game, the greats of his era, the greats of his draft class, things like that. Like hopefully maybe it's not extinct yet, but this is like an endangered species sports talk radio topic.
It is. That is the voice of Danny Parkins. He's on Zoom right now. You can follow him on X, Twitter, if you'd like, at Danny Parkins. Nice and easy. And check out Danny on the newly expanded First Things First OT from 4 to 5 p.m. on FS1. That's Fox Sports 1. Danny, I think that I was thinking about you. And I think a lot of our Score listeners had to have been thinking about you when Mike McCarthy was introduced as the new head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And just to whiteboard that a little bit for the folks who don't know, Danny was highly critical of Mike McCarthy in his time here at the Score, and I would imagine even in your other radio lifetime. So how did that hit you?
As objectively hilarious as the Spider-Man meme coming to life in the form of going from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy. Like, Mike McCarthy managed to win one Super Bowl with prime Aaron Rodgers, the most talented quarterback arguably in the history of the sport. He coached and managed the worst football game I've ever seen to this day, the 2014 NFC Championship game against Seattle, where he repeatedly kicked field goals from the 1-yard line with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback and squandered a 16-point lead with 5 minutes to go in the game. Just an astonishing level of game management and competence in that spot. Took the Cowboys job, said that he watched every Cowboys game in the offseason when in his year off, was asked about it at his introductory press conference, said he was lying about that just to get the job, and everyone chuckled. I'm like, I don't know, that feels like plagiarism to me. Like, I feel like that should have voided the contract. Then he gets to go from Aaron Rodgers to the Dallas Cowboys. What's the other most historic organization in the NFL?
Charmed.
And this guy gets to coach the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's absurd. Here's some numbers for you. Mike McCarthy playoff win-loss record since winning his Super Bowl in 2010. He's 6-9, second worst of any coach with 10-plus games behind Tomlin. You'd say well, it's something to get to 10-plus playoff games, and it is. But who's the worst coach since their Super Bowl win with 10 or more playoff appearances? It's Mike Tomlin at 5-11. Mike Tomlin would be just good enough to get you to the playoffs and then lose. Mike McCarthy is just good enough to get you to the playoffs and then lose. And call me old-fashioned, but I think that there's value in being bad for a year strategically so you could step forward. The last time the Steelers had a losing record, they were 6-10. The next year, they drafted Ben Roethlisberger. The year after that, they won 15 games. The year after that, they won a Super Bowl. There was a pretty famous losing season for the Steelers way back in 1969. They won a coin flip for the number 1 overall pick. Took a guy by the name of Terry Bradshaw. 5 years later, they won 4 of the next 6 Super Bowls. Like, there's value in losing. And in Pittsburgh, they just celebrate, we went 9-8. We went 10-7 and lost in the wild card round. Mike McCarthy's good enough to go 10-7 and lose in the wild card round. But if you actually want to win big in modern football, it's a ridiculous hire. Everybody knows that.
What I tell you, Marshall?
Well,
I tell you.
all I heard was him talking about the Bulls. Wait, no, you're talking about football. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a boomer take, but it's right.
You know what, though? The difference, though, in the NFL, if you have an awful pick, you're guaranteed, or awful record, you're guaranteed a top pick. In the NBA, you have an awful record. You still have to play ping pong balls with lottery and have a 14% chance, and there may or may not be a guy in that. Like, there is no value in the middle in the NFL. There's none. It is completely it's why I argued correctly against the Chicago Football Brain Trust Illuminati that Grote works with all the time at Haugh about there was absolutely no value in that Bears team learning how to win.
Oh, yeah.
And they should lose out so they could get the highest draft pick possible. They got that draft pick. They traded it to Carolina. They got a draft pick back who turned into Caleb Williams, who Marshall will tell you is the best quarterback in the history of the Bears.
Well done. Well done.
Danny's is excellent. I feel uncomfortable, Danny, because we've been agreeing a lot lately, like a lot.
Yeah.
It's been a little much.
It's been a little much. Like I say what I say.
You weren't around, Marshall. You were not around. This was a. I mean, I was so unpopular among Bears media. Probably still am. But like they would write about like no. I think it'd be a good idea for the Justin Fields Bears to go, 5-12 instead of 3-14, and there's real value in winning these games down the stretch. Oh, really? Man. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just all that would have done was cost you the rights to Caleb Williams. Congratulations. You'd have a different left tackle right now, but you'd have no quarterback. Like it was just nonsense.
It was a whole motif.
Danny
here,
is
man.
on point here. I would, if I was on these airwaves back then, I would have agreed with you wholeheartedly.
All right, Danny.
There's value in learning how to win for a coaching staff and roster of players who won't be here anymore when they're good.
I don't know if Flus learned anything while he was here.
Yeah, Danny. Before we
get
you out of here, because Giannis is out here and apparently available right now in the Bulls, because like what you said, they don't do what they need to do and have, I don't know, that unprotected pick from the New Orleans Pelicans, which would really come in handy right about now. What should the Bulls do between now and Thursday's trade deadline? Because they should just sell, and get picks. But I'm afraid they're going to sell, and get young players in return.
I mean, listen, Josh Giddey has looked good. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not always a bad idea if you get a young player who has upside. But to be honest with you, they are still where they've been, which is in a really tough spot. Obviously, I'm all for any unprotected or minimally protected first-round draft picks for the future you can get. Those are incredibly valuable lottery tickets. But there's no chance the Bulls can win a bidding war for Giannis. The only way they can win the bidding war for Giannis is if Giannis demands to play for the Bulls, and there's no reasonable reason to believe that is going to happen.
I told Grote, I said, listen, the Bulls have players that if they traded them away for Giannis, would leave Giannis with no one to play with.
Yeah, that's true. Danny, we got to
Yeah,
go. But
right, and Giannis has power. Like Giannis he's going to want to go where he wants to go, and then he's going to want to go somewhere. The whole point is to have enough left for him to be able to win when he gets there. So, he would have to demand to play for the Bulls, and the Bucks are not gonna. That's not gonna happen. There's no way.
Bill Belichick's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. You think that it's an injustice, or do you think it's the right way to go?
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the coach with the most Super Bowls and the most playoff wins and the second most wins of all time, if he's eligible for a Hall of Fame that cares about those things and doesn't have a morality clause, he should be a Hall of Famer. Like if this was the Baseball Hall of Fame and there was a morality clause, then it would be a reasonable debate. But since there is no morality clause and it's just supposed to be on your merits, I find it very hard to make a merit-based argument for Bill Belichick not to make it into the Hall of Fame.
He didn't see the fine print of the petty clause. That's what he missed.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I respect. And
Of course you do.
I don't agree with it, but like these guys should come out and say, "Yeah, I don't like him, and so I'm making him wait." Like, if you want to stand on your pettiness, I have no problem with that. It's the I don't remember who I voted for. Well, then you don't get a vote. Like, if you can't remember who you voted for, you should no longer be allowed to vote.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like that seems like a fairly straightforward, cognitive line that we should be able to hold these guys to. Like if Bill Polian honestly on the record said, I don't remember with 100% certainty if I voted for Bill Belichick or not, well, then I'm sorry. You no longer get to vote on these things.
He's either senile or a clown. That's what it comes down to.
And Danny, I think you were here, if I'm not mistaken, when the whole Terrell Owens thing happened, where he didn't get first ballot Hall of Fame.
Oh, I yelled at everybody.
Yeah.
I yelled at same thing. And worse, by the way, because T.O. was only the third best receiver in the history of the NFL. When he had to wait 3 years. Bill Belichick is first. It's just and I understand the hey, it's a slap on the wrist for cheating.
To the cheating, yeah.
Oh, I get that argument, but then you have to be able to come out and stand on that argument. And you have to explain where in the bylaws of the Hall of Fame they are asking you to weigh that. That's not.
Shouldn't that be implied though?
No, I'm with him on this.
You shouldn't cheat. Cheating is
because baseball does have the morality clause. I get exactly what Danny's saying.
If baseball did not have the morality clause, you think Bonds would be in, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because right, and so he's out because of the morality clause.
Okay. All right,
So
I guess I think I don't know.
clause-
Is cheating a moral
Yes,
issue?
absolutely.
Isn't it borderline illegal too? And I get it. We're parsing words here. Isn't cheating cheating is illegal, right? So
but they punished him.
Yeah.
They punished him.
Yeah.
They didn't say in their punishment, and this should be considered. And again, if 11 voters want to come out and say, I didn't vote for Bill Belichick because of Spygate, fine.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fine. But come out and say it. Don't hide behind it or not answer for it or claim that you forgot. Make your case. Make your case to the public.
Danny, you are a great Parkins, like you always are. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for being on the right side of history, by the way.
And I'm thinking about your back. I will be thinking about your back.
Thanks,
And if you think
Grote.
about my cat, if we can have that understanding between us, I think you and I will get along swimmingly.
Thanks, Danny.
I'm not going to ever think about your cat.
Bye, Danny.
See you guys.
That is the great Danny Parkins, former afternoon show host here at The Score and midday show host here at The Score. He does his work right now on the newly expanded First Things First OT from 4 to 5 on FS1. Danny Parkins.